Hey, Brandon here. Welcome back to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Jason and I are back with another episode of the Fantasy Football Futures, the Devy Stock Report. On the show, we're going to be discussing future Dynasty players that are playing now in college football that we believe their stocks are going up and down. So hit that subscribe button and be sure to make a comment below. We're going to talk about 10 players today. And, let us know if you think that we're right or we're wrong, or if there's other players that you believe are stock up and stock down. Jason, welcome back. I know we took a week off last week. I got to say that backdrop you got is pretty much fire.
I'm loving this backdrop too, man. Finally got this thing updated. Hopefully I can put out a quality product and keep up with you. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. Always love having you doing the show with me, and excited to talk about these
Same.
players. So, it's week 6 right
too.
now. We're going into week 6, right? That's like almost halfway through the season, which is kind of nuts and crazy. So it's a good time to, again, we've got some film that we can look at these players and start making some educated guesses on their future values. So let's get right to it, and I'll also kick us off here with my first stock up player. I want to talk about JAMARION Miller, right? Like I said just previously, we are through week 6 is this coming. It's halfway through college football, the regular season, or at least I think it is before we get to the playoffs. So, it's time for me to start looking to the future, right? We've gone into the summertime where we've got these projections of players that we feel like we know, we feel like what they're going to do. But, after half of a season, we should have a pretty good idea if guys are going to rise and fall. And the first guy I want to talk about is JAMARION Miller. He is a freshman running back from Alabama, 5'10", 201 pounds. And the reason I selected him for this show is because, like I said, we want to start projecting and looking to the future. We want to start looking to the 2023 season and getting a jump start on that. And I think next year, he is going to probably be sharing the backfield. I'm going to say with McClellan, I think he comes back next year. Maybe he doesn't get drafted and comes back for his senior year, like Najee did. And, but what I've seen on film so far, he's played in 3 games. He's averaging 7.3 yards a carry. He looks explosive to me. He looks like an Alabama running back who in the future could get a good share of carries even into his sophomore year. He looks explosive. He's powerful. He's only 201 pounds, but I'm going to guarantee you that next year he's going to be at least 210, 215. He's going to get in that Bama weight room. He's going to put the weight on. He's got that good low center of gravity. And I've just liked what I've seen. He's got 20 carries through the first few weeks here, 5 weeks of the football season. And I've liked what I've seen. Now, we know that it's been mostly in mop-up time, and that's fine. But the only thing that concerns me a little bit is there's 2 incoming freshmen next year, Richard Young and Justice Haynes, that have both committed. They're both in the top 5 recruits coming into the 2023 recruiting class. 2026 eligible dynasty players for you guys in fantasy football watching this. So a long, long way away. But nonetheless, I like what I've seen on film. And again, Gibbs is going to be gone. And I think that there's a good opportunity and chance next year that he improves, gets bigger, and gets on the field a lot next year. So this is a good opportunity for you to go out and maybe trade for him. You're going to have to give up some good assets probably to get him, but maybe you trade assets right now that you feel are highly valued that you don't think are going to get on your dynasty roster and make a deal. But go out and buy yourself some JAMARION Miller.
Yeah, he was in my top 5 running back coming in. And typically, Alabama running backs don't get a lot of run their first year, which is why I don't think those 2 other incoming running backs next year that are going to be freshmen are going to make such an impact. So for Miller to be doing this, that says a lot about his skill set, and also says a little bit about the backfield in general at Alabama, that he's getting some early run. But I love the talent. And yeah, get some Miller on your roster. I'm going to go with Alabama also, and I'm going to go with a young guy, and that's going to be quarterback JALEN MILROE. So JALEN MILROE came in when Bryce Young went down with a shoulder injury, and although I don't think he looked so great as a passer, he's still young and there's a lot of room to improve, but his dual threat ability nonetheless is what we want to see in regards to fantasy. He's got that Alabama bump. He's going to probably be starting over Ty Simpson, who I love and I thought might get the early take under center for Alabama, but doesn't look that way. Looks like it's going to be JALEN, and he brings a dynamic to that offense that also opens up the run game, and Nick Saban has to like that. So for me, JALEN MILROE in your super flex leagues, man, he's definitely rising.
Yeah, and especially if he's a sophomore right now. Is he a sophomore?
Sophomore. Yep.
Yeah. So there's a good chance he plays next year and comes back even his senior year as well to solidify that. But hey, you can't go wrong with a Bama wide receiver. I don't know how long Bryce Young's out, but we're going to get a really good look at MILROE here over the next. I think he's probably going to be out at least 3 weeks. I'm thinking.
Gotta think.
To get ready for the final push for the the playoffs. So my second stock up player I'm going to talk about really balled out this week, and his name is BARION Brown, Kentucky wide receiver. Now we talked about Dane Key. He was his teammate on this show a few weeks ago. But BARION Brown had a hell of a game this past week against Ole Miss rather. He had only 2 receptions for 81 yards, but where this kid made his mark was in special teams. He had 3 or 4 kickoff returns that were 3, probably out of the 3, maybe 2 were very big explosive plays. One, he kind of got tripped up by his own guy, or it would have been taken to the house. He already has 1 return this year for a touchdown, but really like what I see. I mean, he was also, Will Levis missed him on a couple deep throws. He really should have had 4 or 5 receptions in this game, but both Key and Brown are kind of making a name for themselves that those are the 2 Kentucky wide receivers to own. Some people are a little concerned about his size. He's 6'1", 166 pounds, but Devonta Smith here, my hometown Eagles, we've seen everybody worried about his BMI and everything producing on the field. So I'm sure BARION Brown, by the time he gets to the NFL in 3 years, he's probably going to be at least probably 175, 180, and once he gets in the weight room. But he's an explosive player. Will Levis is looking for him a lot in this on the field. But I mean, as far as the special teams, that's just a feather in your cap when you're a wide receiver, because getting to our dynasty rosters, a lot of times these kids, their first way of getting on the field and making that 53-man roster is on special teams. But he's an explosive player. He's one of the fastest players coming in from high school, a freshman coming into college football, and he's showing that on the field. So stock up for BARION Brown.
BARION Brown looks like a star in the making to me. That kid is so explosive, and there's a direct correlation between future fantasy starters that are relevant, producing fantasy points early on, and special teams ability, the way he's playing, this early in his career. So yeah, BARION Brown, I love this kid. I thought it was going to be Dane Key also, but BARION Brown, explosive playmaker. I'm going to go to the running back position of Ohio State, and MIYAN Williams looks pretty good replacing TreVeyon Henderson. I don't want to go as far as saying that he's probably going to be a future big-time fantasy asset, but to score 5 touchdowns and replacing Henderson against the Rutgers team, he did what he was meant to do. Just looks like that, that goal line guy, almost like a Ramondre Stevenson type. I could definitely see him being relevant at the next level. Not too sure if he's actually starter material because, Henderson came in as a freshman and definitely outplayed everybody on that roster. So Williams is taking advantage of opportunity while it exists, and I can't deny the fact that he looked pretty good in this game. So for me, MIYAN Williams, stock up.
Yeah, I got a lot of questions on my Devy dashboard this week about him, and everyone asking if he was a future, Devy asset. And I didn't see that game this week, so I really couldn't comment. But I know he got a lot of buzz for sure. The third guy I want to talk about, I'm going with all freshmen here. I'm going with all incoming freshmen. I don't know how that all landed on my show sheet, but that's what I got. But I got a theme. Arizona wide receiver TETAIRDA, I believe his first name. I'm pretty bad with names, but
his coaches call him T-Mac. I go safe with that.
T-Mac it is. All right. 6'5", 205 pounds. I watched his game against Colorado this week. I have a game film I'll be putting on this YouTube channel to check it out. This kid, even when he was coming out of high school, when I watched his high school film, he reminded me of like a Drake London type, right? He's got that size. He's got that 6'5" height. And he was just super athletic, made some dynamite catches in high school. And I'll tell you, he made one this past week against Colorado where you just saw he was just dripping with athleticism, a one-handed grab running down the middle of the field. He kind of had to lean back forward, grab it, corral it. And I loved how immediately after he caught the ball, he, ascended forward. But he's got great length. He's got solid hands. Now, Jacob Cowing is the guy, right? The incoming wide receiver from UTEP, who's a transfer coming in. He's leading Arizona right now. But this kid, again, is getting a lot of play through 5 games here, 16 receptions, 290 yards, and 3 TDs. So he is getting involved in the offense early. Jaden De Laura, I guess you say his name is. I mean, he's able to throw the rock really well as well. So he's not the best quarterback out there, but he's a very good quarterback throwing the ball deep, and he's getting McMillan, T-Mac the ball. But I think this kid is only going to get better and better. And another great acquisition. He came in with a lot of high buzz, so you're going to have to pay to get him. In fact, we are doing a Devy draft on our Devy dashboard, and he went early in the 2nd round. So I think people already know about T-Mac, but I think if he continues to progress and have a very productive freshman season, I think he is ascending to be a possible good Devy wide receiver asset for the next 3 years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he looks like a man amongst boys out there already, and he's a freshman. And, you know, we knew he was going to get immediate opportunity at Arizona. He's just maximizing that opportunity. So I completely agree with your take here. I'm going to go to the tight end position. I'm so hesitant to talk about tight ends in Devy. So this is just because I think it's well-deserved. But Ja'Tavion Sanders, we cannot deny what he is doing this year. And, you know, with Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer being at the top, it's like, who's next? You know, the Michael Triggs are kind of falling off, and Bell from South Carolina is kind of falling off a little bit. We're trying to figure out who that guy is. Sanders looks like he is up and coming. Now, I am hesitant. The O.J. Howard, David Njoku draft class kind of, you know, we see how long these athletic guys took them a while, and they look like freaks. So again, push pause a little bit, look at the tight end position, see what your needs are. This is mostly for tight end premium, but Ja'Tavion Sanders just looks different and uber athletic. So for me, definitely stock up.
Yeah, I think he had 2 touchdowns this past week. Yeah. So you know, definitely
caught all 5 of his targets.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, he's a focal point of, you know, Card, you know, throwing the ball in the backfield. So it's funny you bring up a tight end, because my first stock down player is a tight end as well. And the guy you just mentioned, Michael Trigg, right? So he's my stock down player. And for one reason really is he hasn't been as that explosive player, you know, on the season so far through 5 games. He has 16 receptions, 128 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The touchdowns all came in one game, the 2nd week of the season, against not very good competition. And he just has been ho-hum for the rest of the year. And I think Jackson Dart is looking for a playmaker on this offense. And I was expecting Michael Trigg to come in. Listen, the spring game, I made a spring game film. He scored 3 touchdowns. He looked dynamic. Everyone was, you know, slobbering all over this guy, and rightfully so. But now all of a sudden you're wondering, well, you know, was that a flash, or is that going to continue? Like I said, we're halfway through the college football season, right? So now's the time to really kind of take a pulse check on Michael Trigg. Now, his value probably hasn't gone down a whole lot, because I think in the eyes that Devy draft that I'm just talking to you about, he went early in the 3rd round. So I think there's guys that are still taking shots with these tight ends, because there's probably only 7, 8, maybe at most, that people are excited about in the Devy landscape altogether. However, I'm just saying, again, if you have him and, you know, start looking and thinking week to week to week with this guy, if, you know, before his value, because Devy values change so quickly in Devy, right? So this guy's hot right now, but it doesn't mean this time next year, if he really falters and doesn't really produce the way we're expecting him to produce, there is a chance that maybe his value, and he's maybe not as good as we think he is. So he's still going to be high in my ranks, but his value has to go down at this point in the season, because he just hasn't been that unstoppable force that we were all expecting him to be. You talk about Sanders. I mean, he's producing week after week after week. You know, Michael Trigg had 3 receptions for 41 yards, and one of them was just a dump off pass where he really didn't do much of anything to get the majority of that yardage. So again, just stock down for Michael Trigg. Just beware and just watch him throughout the season, and make sure you're not stuck with a tight end who maybe doesn't pan out in the end.
Yeah, you know what, you would think with Ole Miss looking for a guy like you said that, you know, it would be Trigg. I think even Kenny Yeboah played with Elijah Moore and maybe AJ Brown, DK Metcalf era, and he did something, you know, and I mean, he didn't turn out to be anything in the NFL, at least not yet. But you would think Michael Trigg, with all this opportunity, it's there, he's not doing it. That's a huge red flag to me. So I think definitely deserving of a stock down.
Yeah, and this coach is also just one last thing too, has been really harping on him about his blocking, right? He's getting pulled out of games because Judkins and Evans, and he's not, I think, putting the effort in the run blocking game. So he's not on the field as much as I think we would all hope he would be.
That makes total sense considering the way they're running this offense. I mean, it's going through Judkins and Evans, so I can absolutely see that. Even Jonathan Mingo, I think, is blocking very well, and he's kind of a rise in that offense. So, yeah, if he's not blocking, that makes total sense. Going to the downers, huh?
Yep, we're going to the downers. Who's your first downer, buddy?
My first downer. Actually, this is kind of a hard one because we really like this guy when we were doing our evaluation on him during the summer, but BRAELON Allen just hasn't turned out to be the guy that we were hoping for. Wisconsin, man. I mean, they are known that this is this is basically their calling card, is their run game, and it's just not opening up for him. And it doesn't look like he's creating for himself either. I mean, he's running into the backs of his offensive linemen. They're stacking the box probably because they know Wisconsin doesn't have that great of a pass game. But you would still want to see some more from a guy that we really hyped up and really liked. I mean, he's got a skill set and size that you just can't coach. So hopefully the second half of the season we see a little bit of improvement. But for right now, I mean, from what we saw with this West Virginia game, it did not look good.
Yeah, I did not see that game, but I think he had just one run, I think, at the very end in trash time or something.
He had a total of 2 yards.
2 yards. Oh, that was the game before where he wasn't very productive, and at the very end when they were getting blown out, I think he ran one. But
that was the Ohio State game.
Yeah, I mean, this is what the fun part of this game is. This Devy game, you know, for the guys that are in fantasy football right now that don't really know what Devy is necessarily, if you come across this video, you know, we're looking at these players through the lens of making it to our dynasty rosters, right? And these values change all the time. I mean, a player can, you know, go from high to low to high so quickly. So yeah, we got to keep an eye on BRAELON Allen, because you're right. He's probably, again, in the draft that I just did, he went in the first round, right? People are believing and whatever. So it's going to be a lot of fun at the end of the season when we really start digging into their full season of tape and really be able to, you know, dissect their game. So my second stock down player today I want to talk about is DONTAY DEMUS, Maryland wide receiver, 6'4", 215 pounds. And really my reason I'm down on him is through 5 games, he has 9 receptions for 85 yards. So it is a lack of production. I understand he's coming off a significant injury, so maybe that's playing a role. Raheem Jarrett is also on this team that doesn't seem to be as productive as we all like. But again, I'm not sure that a 6'4", 215-pound receiver is, you know, who's not dynamic right now is what the NFL is looking for. And his lack of production, I mean, his best season was in 2019 where he had 41 receptions for 625 yards and 6 TDs. Other than that, he's a 5-year player as well. So I guess he was a redshirt early on. So this is his 5th year. He's going to be an older prospect. Now he's getting a draft buzz on. I'm looking right now at NFL mock draft database. I mean, he's number 8 still in the NFL draft as far as mock drafts, all these gurus and stuff. So he's still up there. So I guess a lot of people are you know, maybe not going to fade him just yet on the production, but he came into the season as a kind of like a Devy darling, a NFL draft darling. And I'm just wondering, with this like real lack of production, you know, I mean, he's had 4 receptions in the last 3 weeks. So he's playing full games because I see him out there, and I haven't done any research where he's hurt or anything. So he's just not getting it done. So I feel like his stock is starting to slip a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about all these Maryland receivers, even Raheem Jarrett. I mean, Jacob Copeland has looked like the better receiver at times. So I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, I'm a little hesitant on all these guys, even though I do believe in the talent of Raheem Jarrett overall. My next guy is kind of a heartbreaker too. I'm kind of going with some brand names here, but Tank Bigsby for me is a stock down also. He's just, you know, that first game against Mercer, where he averaged over 9 yards a carry, is the reason why we're seeing like a 4.8 yards per carry average for him, I believe it is, throughout the season. But he just can't get anything going, and I feel like Auburn just doesn't do him any favors either. Like, this team just doesn't look explosive or know what they're doing, honestly. But at the same time, when you're looking at a guy who you expect a lot from, that has the athletic ability to create for himself, and he's not able to do it, to me, that's a big red flag. So as much as I love Tank Bigsby, you know, it's just hard to rank him so high amongst others when he's just not producing the way he should be, and hasn't eclipsed more than 52 rushing yards since that week 1 against Mercer, where he had, I believe, almost 150 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. So stock down on Tank Bigsby.
Yeah, well, he's going to be in. We'll be discussing him at next year's draft, right? And do you think he takes the same path as Isaiah Spiller, right? I mean, I felt like this time last year, Isaiah Spiller was a player who, you know, the shine started to come off on, and we know how that all ended up being on the Chargers, buried on the depth chart, right? I mean, do you see Tank Bigsby? I don't know why I associate those two together, but
you know, probably because it's just, we expect a lot, and you know, they're not as consistent as we wanted them to be. I think the combine might actually help Tank Bigsby, because I do think there's athleticism that is untapped there. So I think the draft process might help him. But overall, if you look at the tape, I mean, again, his 2020 film is the best film I watched, and I was banking on that talent, and it just not has you know, come to fruition. So you know, you got to do what you got to do. You can't be stubborn. You can't keep banking on a guy because you saw what he could do one time and it's just hasn't happened as much as you want since.
Well, I think that's a really good point. You've got to be very fluid in this game. You can't, get tape locked from 2021 and think that this is just a down year. You have to take it all into consideration. So, all right, everyone, I appreciate you tuning in. There are 10 players, 6 stock ups and 4 stock downs. So hope you enjoyed the show. Hit that subscribe button. And again, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Think we're out of our minds? Let us know. I love discussing every comment I get on my YouTube channel. I respond to. So would love to hear your guys' thoughts. And until next week, enjoy football.